Hi, everyone.
Hola.
Thank you. We're going to call the meeting to order at 6:05 p.m. Will you please join me in standing and saying the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. I just have a few things to say. June is sometimes in the school board world a quieter month as we move into July and then start getting ready for the new school year, which we of course have been doing for months. But I just wanted to acknowledge two important observances that take place during June. First, we have celebrated Juneteenth, which is a powerful reminder of freedom and the ongoing journey toward justice and equity. And we continue in Ladue to reflect on our shared responsibility to teach truth, celebrate Black history and culture, and work toward a more just future for all of our students. And we also celebrate Pride Month in June, which is a time to recognize the strength, courage, and contributions of the LGBTQ community. And we are always striving to be places, our buildings and our spaces strive to be places where every student feels seen and valued and safe. It's woven into everything that we do as our inclusion and acceptance. So I just wanted to acknowledge those two important observances. And as we don't have a board meeting in June, wish everyone, or in July, I'm sorry, a healthy summer break from don't worry, we'll still be in touch, but we don't have a board meeting. So I wish everyone a great summer. And I will turn it over to Dr. Whipke.
Thank you, Marissa. I appreciate that. Although summer has officially started for our students and some of our staff, the district has remained in high gear throughout late May and through June. We began with a cabinet retreat on May 27th. The purpose of this retreat was to prepare thoroughly for our up-and-coming board retreat, specifically to review and refine our district goals and provide updates connected to our 2024-25 priorities. On June 4th, we held a very productive board retreat. I want to thank the board for your time and engagement. It was a full day dedicated to learning, collaboration, and thoughtful discussion. The updated district goals for 2025-26 will be presented this evening. I appreciate those of you who have reached out with feedback, suggestions, even as recently as today. I've incorporated as many revisions as possible and remain open to additional discussions as needed. These goals will serve as our guide for the year ahead. On June 11th, we hosted our second cabinet retreat, where our focus was to align the district level goals with building level planning as we prepare for Summer Institute and the year to come. On June 17th and 18th, we held our annual Summer Institute with the district and building level administrators. It was 2 full days of reflection, learning, and planning, closing out a successful school year and gearing up for an even better one to come. I also completed all of the cabinet evaluations, an important part of our leadership in the continuous improvement cycle. We are genuinely excited for the up-and-coming school year. We believe we have a strong roadmap in place. That said, we are also encouraging our cabinet and district level leaders to take a much-needed time away in July and rest, recharge, and return refreshed for the important work ahead. As always, thank you, Board of Education, for your continued support and partnership.
Thank you, Dr. Whipke. Are there any committee and school liaison reports? It's probably quieted down a little bit. Okay.
I don't have any committee reports, but I would like to acknowledge my fellow MSBA Executive Committee members who are here. We have Shelley Mantell and Riley here. We're all in town for the COSBA School Safety Symposium on tomorrow, but I just would like to acknowledge their presence today. Thank you for being here.
And I missed congratulating Keisha, who is the newest member of the MSBA Board of Directors and will be serving in the president-elect role for the next year. So, sorry, we all congratulated you on text and email, but we want to publicly congratulate you too.
We're super proud of you.
Very proud of you. Okay. Is there any public comment? Nope, okay. All right, Jennifer is out of town tonight, Jennifer Grosashnik. Is there a motion to excuse her from tonight's meeting?
So moved.
Thank you, Keisha.
Second.
Thank you, Pablo. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, we are going to open the public hearing where we will hear about the preliminary operating budget from Dr. Macy. And you all have a copy in front of you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for this
Good evening.
opportunity to present the preliminary budget. I know that we talked at the board workshop about Barb Myers and the incredible business office. I do want to recognize our communications department, Laura Shea and Kimberly McKenzie, for helping us put this budget book together. So everyone should have a hard copy of the budget book in front of them. We also have a PDF version that will be in Diligent Community so that anybody in the community can access this. So just so, in case we have anybody online viewing, I do want to remind everyone that this will be the third reviewing of this presentation. I want to commend the board on their engagement for the preliminary budgeting process and working with us through this process over the past 3 months. So tonight really will be a recap for everyone here. But it will provide us an opportunity to run through some numbers and talk through some things for anybody online. So we do like to start the preliminary budget with some pictures of our wonderful students. It really centers us and shows that the school district is really about the community and about the students. And everything that we're going to discuss in the preliminary budget aligns with the strategic plan and truly supports our students and community in everything that they do. When we look at our preliminary budget, we like to look at the previous 2 years' actual as well as our current projections with the preliminary budget numbers side by side. So right now, we are still calling these projections. We have a couple days left in the fiscal year, but everything is tracking just as we thought it would back at the June 4th board retreat. So we do believe that our projections are strong, and we do believe that the variances will be minimal. When we look at our projections, the big one that we always talk about is our beginning fund balance. So we did start this year at $36.6 million. When you look at 23, 24, and 22, 23, they look very different than they have in years past. And that's because DESE allowed us to go back and make those transfers over a 5-year period. So we actually went back and edited those ASBRs, resubmitted those to DESE, and they went ahead and approved those. So it's not as if we put $6 million in the bank from 23 to 24. It's just an accounting maneuver based off of transferring those funds into the capital account. So our revenues are tracking well. We are a little bit below what we projected. Our local tax revenues have not fully been accounted for as of yet. The county is working through some new software, but we do anticipate that we will increase that number slightly before we hit July 1. If we don't receive those numbers before this fiscal year, we will count those revenues in the next fiscal year, and we will see those. If this is similar to where we were 4 years ago and those revenues actually don't come in, then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll do the recoupment calculation just to see if there's any revenues that are left out there based off of the assessed valuation changing from the time of the setting of the tax rate to the billing cycle. But we're in good shape either way at just over 76 million. Our expenditures, 76.1 million. We do have a little bit of a deficit there at $98,000, which is very, very minimal when you look at it. We have built in the 2 transfers that we discussed at the board retreat. We'll talk a little bit more about that later in the presentation, but we anticipate our ending fund balance in Fund 1 and 2 will be $34.7 million. So we'll still have that transfer money, but that money will go from Fund 1 and 2 into Fund 4 to work on some capital projects. Any questions? So our local tax collection, so 23-24, 61.1 million, 24-25, we're at about 62.4 million. Our 25-26, this is a reassessment year. We do project right now approximately $74.3 million. We will have a tighter number once we get through the setting of the tax rate in September and we move through the updated budget in December. But right now our projections are strong. I do want to point out, though, that as you look at the rest of our projections, and these are our largest figures when we look at revenues that we bring in, Prop C is fairly stable. So we look at Prop C 2 years ago, 5.8 million, preliminary budget about 5.9 million. Transportation, the governor has approved the full funding of transportation, which is approximately 26% of our allowable expenditures. But even that number is right in that $1 million threshold. Formula Classroom Trust, again, we're at that 2.3 million. Now, I want to highlight that when we look at this slide, that our growth comes in the local tax collection area, because as this work in rewriting the foundation formula moves forward, we can see that our state revenues and the revenues that we're receiving from Jefferson City have not been increasing on a regular basis. In fact, we anticipate that transportation could go down very soon based off of the implementation of legislation passed this year and years prior. So it's just something to note that Ladue is predominantly locally funded. 94% of our revenues are local. Our state is about 3.7. Our federal and other revenues are so small that they won't even register a percentage when I put them in my graphing software. Expenditures, we are like every other school district in the state. The majority of our expenditures are salaries and benefits. We can see that we've grown from 23-24 from 55.5 million to approximately 60.6 million. Now that 60.6 million does include the additional staffing that we asked the board to approve associated with the middle school scheduling, as well as taking the positions, the 3 SA positions, and upgrading them to security specialists. So that number has grown a little bit more than it typically would in any given year, but through those conversations with the board, we adjusted that by about $1 million. Purchase services, our purchase services continue to grow similar to every other school district. We've had considerable increases in transportation over the past 3 years, as well as food service. So these are areas that we'll continue to look at. The other area that's big is substitute services. So we do categorize our subs as a purchase service because we work with Kelly Services to facilitate the assigning of the subs, the calling in, and then sending the subs to us. So that's going to be an area that we'll probably have to pay attention to over the next several years. Supplies. Our supplies are relatively consistent. 24-25, we did see an increase in our supplies because that includes the 1.5 million that the board approved to upgrade the audiovisual equipment at 5th Grade Center, Reed, and Conway, the 3 schools that weren't as impacted by Prop L as all of our other buildings, so that we are now on a cycle where all of our teachers have the same classroom setup and the same classroom technology, which is very important. Preliminary budget, we're budgeting 4.5 million in the supply category. Capital is where we've continued to spend down that 15 million that we included in transfers, from the previous 5 years. So we're actually moving some money from 24-25 into 25-26 to pay for the parking lot project and the 5th Grade Center project. And I don't know if anybody's seen the parking lot project over here, but they've already got it striped, and the south lot is ready to go. Trees are being cut down over here, property adjoined to the north lot, so we are making significant progress there. At the 5th Grade Center, they are currently demoing the tennis courts and the parking lot. I wouldn't encourage that you go over there, but I will say that they are making significant progress in making sure that we have that drive loop ready for students in
You can
August.
maybe send us a picture or something.
We could do that.
So
You go
when
over
we-
there.
When we take all of that and we put that into our pie chart, you can see that we are a people organization, right? The school is truly driven by the people that support it. Certified salaries, non-certified salaries, and fringe benefits are a huge part of that. And then purchase services really are people expenses as well. Those are just the services that we ask others to perform for us. Any questions about the budget? All right. So when we talk about the budget, and it's been a topic over the past 3 years, reinvesting that surplus or that transfer into much needed capital projects. And we've been able to accomplish so many things. We're going to talk about the Reed and Conway boilers and truly fulfilling the Prop L promise, doing the windows last year. So I just wanted to put this goal up there because I feel like this board has been very diligent and focused in facilities planning and ensuring that we're investing into our facilities. So when we look at our transfer that's available, and that's the legal transfer through DESI, it's called the 7% weighted ADA transfer, but it provides us an opportunity to transfer money from Fund 1 into Fund 4. So we had left 1 year of that 5-year on the table, and we have this year's transfer as well. So that provides us an opportunity to transfer $3.5 million, which will be the administration's recommendation. When we look at that $3.5 million, and I apologize that the slide is off, the formatting is when you take it from Google into this, it just creates some problems. But the Reed and Conway boilers are a significant project in the fact that these were discussed with the planning of Prop L in 2020. These boilers are 24 years old. They have reached the point where they are almost to the end of their useful life, and we can no longer get parts. So right now, our maintenance department has to fabricate the parts and really just Band-Aid them as best as they can. So working with Mike Noonan through the TIPS program, we do have an opportunity to replace these boilers, which will improve these systems significantly. The board had asked us to bring this forward if we felt that this needed to be done soon, and this really does need to be done soon. What will happen is if the board approves, we'll be able to reach out to them this evening. We'll order the equipment and the materials, and then we'll begin that construction in the fall. So the boiler rooms at these two buildings are traditional boiler rooms, so they have accessibility from outside the building into the boiler rooms. So we'll be able to complete this work and complete these projects with minimal to no disruption to our students. But the goal is to have this finished by October because we really want to have these in place by winter.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Is the discrepancy in the price between the two just related to the size of the building?
That would be a question for Mike.
Yeah.
But what I would suspect is that it has to do with the size of the building. It could be the ease of access into the building. There could be several factors associated with it.
Okay, thanks.
The next project that we're proposing is the Safe Bolt lock. And this is a retrofitted lock that will provide an opportunity for our staff to lock the doors from the inside and essentially provide them that red safety button that goes to green when you press it. And it's easy to use in situations of duress, and it provides an opportunity for us to close the door and get it locked. Research has shown that when intruders are in buildings and doing things that we don't even like to talk about, that a locked door is truly the #1 deterrent. The data shows that these intruders have not tried to breach a locked door. They're simply trying to move through the building as fast as they can and find ease of access. This lock will also comply with legislation that was just passed through Senate Bill 68 that's going to call for everybody to have interior anti-intruder locks. Now, full disclosure, that law is not going to be enforced until there's funding in place, which I don't foresee any funding being in place. But what this does do is this provides us an opportunity to get in front of this and provide another layer of safety for our staff and students.
Can I ask another question?
Yeah.
I'm not normally the one with questions. Peter, where are you?
You're asking all my questions.
I know it says for all classrooms. Thinking about administrative offices and other places that are kind of close to the front of the building, will these locks be installed there as well?
So our plan would be similar to the boilers. get the paperwork over tonight, get the equipment ordered, and we can have the classrooms taken care of before the start of school. I'll be honest with you, we felt like we wanted to address the classrooms first. We do have what I would say are secure locks on the offices, but it's certainly something that we can readdress and we can take a closer look at.
Okay, thank you.
And then the last project that we talked about is the Conway turf. When we spoke at the board retreat, we were waiting on our civil engineers to tell us what the MSD requirements would be, because we know that we need to manage the stormwater and make sure that we mitigate that so that we're good neighbors. CEDC came back. We presented the MSD plan that they proposed to Byrne and Jones, who provided us an estimate, which is just a budget number. You know, we would have to bid this project out, and there's a lot of work associated with this project before we can move forward. But Byrne and Jones looked at the MSD proposal through our civil engineer and said that their project estimate of $685,500 was accurate. They felt that they could complete this job for that number. With that being said, I know the Conway Parent Association has approached us about committing $75,000 to the project. This is something that is very near and dear to the Conway Association. Over the past several years, we've experienced some scenarios with field day, you know, where the field was just not in the condition that we would like it to be, all a result of such a small footprint and increased traffic with our partnership with Olivet Soccer. So turfing this field would provide an opportunity for us to not only strengthen that relationship with Olivet, but it would provide us another opportunity for students really from anywhere in the district to have additional space even in inclement weather. Our plan on this would be to work with Mike Noonan to develop some specs, and then we would bid this out. Realistically, I would think the earliest we could do this would be next summer. There would be an opportunity maybe for us to see if a company could do the work in the winter, but I think we don't want to displace students any more than we already have. So I would anticipate that this would be a next summer project.
And is it a project that can be completed in a summer? Is it?
It is. And the challenge here is this is an old photo, but this is what Google Earth will provide us. The gymnasium, you can see all the barren earth there, the dirt and everything. There's not much space to the left of that gymnasium. So all the equipment is going to have to come all the way through and around.
Wow.
So the other thing that we're going to really want to do and we're going to need to do is we're going to need to assess that asphalt and that blacktop. Because if we're bringing bulldozers around or trucks around, so I think that once we're able to bid this, it's a creative conversation with our contractor about what we can do and how we can do it in order to get the appropriate equipment back there. Initially, when I talked to them, they said it's something that we could do with Bobcats, but if you have smaller equipment, you increase the amount of time and you increase the overhead.
As a byproduct to that, what's the lifespan, or what's the current time on that blacktop? How old is it?
It's old.
Okay. I think there's that piece as well, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it might create an opportunity, so.
Yeah, definitely. But it's something we're going to have to consider because you can see it's already been piecemealed together where the drives are and where they meet that light part. So, but like you said, another opportunity to move forward with one of our parking lots.
So the blacktop piece that you're talking about is where it's caged in the front that comes off Conway Road, is that correct? The
No,
blacktop?
It would be where the teachers park, that area. We're going to have to bring the equipment all the way around. So there's a parking lot where the blacktop is where the kids play. So we're not able to bring equipment in that way.
No, but I'm thinking more to Pablo's point, if this is going to be a summer project, can the whole thing be reconfigured to be more manageable for the flow of traffic at pick up and drop off? I know parents park there and wait on kids to come. Is there something that we can look at to try and just kind of reimagine what this looks like? Because we've built onto a space and it's landlocked by houses, so we don't have a lot of flexibility. But if we tear down the gates around the blacktop and just reimagine what it could look like. Would that make a difference?
Well, I actually think that's a really, really good point, because we're gonna need to engage the city of Ladue for this project anyway. So we could possibly see if there's anything we can do with, what I'm hearing you say is almost connecting the drive to the blacktop.
Absolutely.
To just create additional space.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, it's certainly something we can look into.
Yeah, I think if we're going to disrupt it, we might as well disrupt it and make it, more beneficial to,
Right.
to the school community and,
And you'd think Ladue would be happy that there wouldn't be
the backup
cars
on
backed up
Conway.
onto Conway, onto Warson from
And
3 to 5 every day.
Yeah.
And I think too, certainly there's some green space there. I think what's lost, I don't think there's significant loss there, but I think it would be, I don't think it would involve a new like bioretention basin, et cetera, but that'll be a question that comes up. But there isn't a lot of green space, but I think it's an opportunity still.
No, I definitely think it's an opportunity. I think the one challenge we might have that we might have to work through is the trees. So there are some trees in that green space, but what I do think is it's worth the conversation. We've already engaged a civil engineer, so, Brandon Harp, who we've engaged, has been working with the district for 27 years, so I can have a conversation with him and at least determine the feasibility or what he believes the feasibility would be for sure. All right, formatting again. I'm sorry. I know, as a math guy, I look at that and it's not my favorite. So our total transfer is $3.5 million that we're asking the board to approve. The Conway and Reed boilers are at $1.2 million. Safe bolts at $412. The Conway turf is currently at $610 without making the adjustments we talked about the parking lot. The best part about that is we have a total remaining transfer of $1.2 million. Originally, I would have said that we could have used that money to begin the planning for the admin center, which, we can adjust the levy and work through the financing for that. But with the total remaining there, we might be able to get creative with Conway and be able to include that as well as start the planning with the admin center. So any questions?
Yes, I have a quick one. Thank you. So, well, I'll do my best. So actually going on right now, there's a special meeting of the county council to extend the application deadline for the senior tax freeze, largely due to the inclement weather we've been experiencing, which has impacted a number of seniors who have been applying. With that in mind, when I was just going through the initial summary here and looking at the 15% goal of our fund balance, and yes, we're at 54% right now, so we're not even close to that. But do you think it's prudent to revisit that 15% floor, not this year, but over this upcoming school year, as we start to get an idea of participation and what that potential impact could be? And then even as we get through veto session, since the governor has been abundantly clear that he's not pleased about the $300 million that was put back in to fully fund the formula. So it feels like this school year could be a really good opportunity to get more information. And I just wanted to get your impression on if you think that's something we do need to reconsider, or kind of given how heavily reliant we are on local funding, then not as much on school funding, if we're just good to wait and see, or is it something that should be seriously reconsidered in terms of that minimum fund balance?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think 15% is low. I know we've had this conversation that pre-COVID, St. Louis County was around 25%. Now I think districts are at 30% as they're spending down ESSER. I think that it is a great conversation to have as we evaluate our tax revenues moving into the next tax year. I do think that, the percentage is great because the percentage helps us with vision and it helps us to know how quickly we're going to hit that line. But I think what is more important to me is having the necessary funds to live through the tax cycle. So we receive the majority of our revenues in December, January, February, and then we essentially live off of those tax revenues until the next tax cycle. So what I would say is I think it would make sense to review that percentage, but I would also like to come back with a number that says, okay, based off of our current level of expenses, we need to maintain a fund balance of $23 million so that we can live through our payroll cycle, so that we're not borrowing money, which is not untypical of school districts, but I don't think that it would be hard for me to recommend maintaining a balance that didn't make us solvent.
It's always obviously preferable to earn interest than pay it. So.
That also used to, Jeff, and you can clarify, because I know some things have changed, but it used to impact your bond rating as well, when you had to take a note out or borrow to pay your salaries because you didn't have enough in the fund balance.
No, you're absolutely right.
But no, thank you. And that would, I mean, I would, as it is appropriate throughout kind of our meeting cadence throughout the school year, as you get more information or more insight, to please share that with us, so that way when we kind of go through this process for next school or the 26-27 school year, we can, as recommended, adjust that percentage, or as you mentioned, that actual number.
I think that we're not going to have data until the collections come in. So I think it's going to be very late in the school year. But I think when we're talking about financial planning and we're talking about fund balance percentage and what that number is, I really think it's a great topic for January when we update the budget. And if we're able to report information at that time, we will. What we've been told is that the assessor's office, they obviously don't have the information of age of property owner, but we don't know going through this for the first time when they're going to release the application data. So if they have all the application information, are they breaking it out by school district, or are they just keeping it St. Louis County? Ideally, we ask them to keep it by district, but again, they are doing new things with the same amount of people and the same software, so we're just not sure what that outcome is going to look like.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is there any public comment related to the budget hearing? Okay, any other discussion? Okay, we can close the hearing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Pablo.
I'd like to remove the master agreement from the consent agenda for further discussion.
Okay. All right, we will vote on, do we vote to remove? Okay, is there, so you've made a motion to remove the master agreement. Is there?
Second.
Thank you, Pablo. All in favor of removing the master agreement from the consent agenda?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Can I amend my motion to pass the rest of the consent agenda?
Yes. Is there a
That's my
second on passing the consent agenda minus the master agreement?
Second.
Thank you, Peter. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And so now we will look at the 25-26 master agreement, which has been pulled out of the consent agenda. Any discussion?
Yes. I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention, my concern about page 7, it says for a legal degree, an applicant, a teacher who's applying to work here, would be placed on the master's pay chart, master degree pay chart. A legal degree is a Juris Doctorate. It's a 3-year program of study, and they would be paid the same amount as somebody who only went through a 2-year field of study. And that is of concern to me, of very deep concern, because I've known from my AP grading experience that there are a lot of attorneys working in especially more elite high schools in their social studies departments or other places. And I wasn't part of the school board while this thing was negotiated. So I didn't have an opportunity for input at that point, but I'm hoping that maybe an addendum could be added or some sort of update between the LEA and our district representative who signed it to bring up the Juris Doctorate degree to be placed on a master's plus 15 at minimum on the pay chart. That wouldn't reflect the full 3 years of study, but it would reflect 2.5 years rather than the 2 years as it's presently placed. So that's my concerns.
Okay. Joy, did you want to?
Thank you, guys. So the master agreement is basically a compilation of all of the resolutions between the LEA and the district over the years. So Patricia, will you scroll up on that? I think she said it was page 7. Or,
7.
Robert said it was page 7. So I'm not even sure when this was actually added to the master agreement. It's been in one of the meet and confers over the years. So the master agreement, though, the board just in March, I think it was, just approved this year's resolutions. So each year we bring proposals and we get to resolutions, we bring them to the board for approval. They were approved, and then I go back and put them all into this master agreement, either update stuff that was in there or add in anything new. And then from there, the LEA looks at it to make sure everything has been added. The attorney reviews it to make sure there's no changes legally that need to be made. And then just this comes to you guys for approval. So everything that's in here has been through the negotiations process. So if anything were to be changed, it would have to go back through the process. So like for this fall, we could put something in there, but we can't just change things that have already been negotiated and resolved.
Julie, just for because I think Robert brings up a great point. What then is that something that we just kind of mentioned today to you, that this is something that the board is interested in, or is this something that then LEA has to raise the issue?
No, so every year, each side kind of talks to their constituents and decides what issues we're going to bring forward. So this is an item that we typically talk about in closed session because it's in negotiations. We have that on the agenda. So then we could have Fern add this at the beginning of August to closed session as negotiations, and then we could talk about if there's things. Typically, the board does not bring forward things. It's typically from the administration that we are saying, here are the things that we need to change, or here are the things that we would like to propose. But again, open to have that discussion with the board, and then we can decide what proposals we want to take for this fall.
Thank you.
I just want to reiterate something that Julie said. She said it fairly quickly, but definitely for Amy and Robert. As we go through the meet and confer process, we have conversations in closed. That's part of the regular conversation where the board gets a great opportunity to hear how the process is going, and then also ask questions or give information and input.
Because ultimately, whatever we bring forward, the board, we obviously want you guys to support whatever is being brought forward. So yes, I don't know when this was actually added, Mr. Sinman, so I would assume this may have been done whenever the salary schedule was actually put together. That's my guess, but I can find out for sure by the next closed session to bring that information.
I'll also add to just that we do have a silent observer as a member of the Board of Education is a silent observer during all of the negotiations, so that we're not blindsided or don't have our position supported. So we are able to sit, we don't talk or, kind of get into the negotiations. Pablo has done it before, I think Jennifer did it this year, so that they're part of that process.
To be fair to everybody, I'm particularly sensitive to this as being an educator with a law degree. So,
Sure,
I mean, I've zeroed in on
Yeah.
more than probably anyone else possibly would. And it sounds like maybe we could get that addressed even this fall if the parties were to agree to an addendum.
Yeah, so we will ask Fern to add negotiations to the, there's a special closed on August 1st, I believe it is. And so then we can begin those discussions because we actually do start negotiations really early this fall. So it will be important to get some feedback too.
We do still need to vote on the master agreement because it was pulled out of consent. So is there a motion to approve the master agreement as presented? Thank you, Keisha.
Second.
Thank you, Pablo. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay. Sorry, there was a lot in the consent agenda moving down. Okay, preliminary budget again. It's our favorite topic.
All right. Any additional questions about the preliminary budget?
It's been 7 minutes now.
No? Okay.
I make a motion to approve the preliminary budget as presented.
Thank you, Keisha.
Second?
Thank you, Peter. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
All right, the district goals, Dr. Wick.
Yeah, I can keep this fairly quick and moving here, but I want to thank the Board of Education for your input with our it was at that time, it was just proposed goals, right? And now we have a draft, a copy for everyone. I did want to make sure and highlight the Board of Education has initiatives and priorities. So please take some time to read through the priorities and initiatives. I think that's been a pretty powerful tool because our board has continued to go through professional development and look at Keisha Lee, right, president-elect right now. So I think that's awesome, and I think it's a product of pushing ourselves to become better board members, so thank you for that. And then as you slide on down, you may be saying to yourself, okay, we talked about this during Summer Institute, what's changed? So let me just highlight just two areas, right? We added a bullet into community service, the second bullet where it says the district is committed to aligning and supporting middle school activities and athletic programs with those at the high school level where appropriate and in accordance with applicable Missouri State High School Activities Association guidelines, district policies, and procedures. That's been a want of, I think, a lot of ours. And we know we want to continue to do things to get our kids involved in after-school activities. We had a conversation about that today in dealing with even stipends at our middle school level and to make things more equitable so that we can kind of continue to go down a road of improving that. We have really improved at the middle school, our after-school opportunities, but aligning that would give kids a clear path once they get to high school to be a part of a group, feel like they fit in, and we can have our teachers working together on that front. So I really thought that was a good suggestion. I know that I've talked to our athletic director on this front. I know that Derek and I have had conversations on this front. Jeff and I have had conversations because there's funding. And we're going to have a meeting when everybody gets back after July and start to tackle that bullet. So that is one I wanted to point out. And then on wellness and belonging, it at one point in time said student wellness and belonging. We took out the student because it's more than just students. And then we added in the last bullet there. We kind of rephrased things, but I'm just giving you the highlights there. We added in the last bullet, the board recognizes that the well-being of our staff is essential for the well-being for our students and is committed to the use of comprehensive resources to ensure a supportive and healthy environment for all. So we added that in there as well. So the formatting just kind of changed a little bit. We did add, we changed some of the language, but not the meaning or the content, just to clean it up a little bit from where we had it. But I feel really good about this draft and would ask that the board approve. This is our 2025-26 district goals.
Could I ask one question? On that last goal that was added, it says the board recognizes. Should it say the district recognizes? Or what would be?
We can combine that if we would like, or yeah, I'm open to that.
Because it's more than,
It's
our
more than just the board,
administration,
yeah.
we all care
The
about
Board
our
of
staff.
Education and the district recognize, we can definitely do that together as a team.
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
Totally true.
I mean, I think I'm fine either way. I think that it speaks to the fact that I think the support of the staff came from the board.
That's okay, too.
Just that, we wanted to make sure, I think it was actually you that initiated, our social worker.
Always.
That we also, are aware that the staff and, needs to be supported as well.
When you look at it through that lens, I'm okay leaving it like this.
Well, and I'm okay with that too, because I believe that's incorporated in the other first 3 bullets that the staff is working together.
Okay,
So,
great. Any other questions about the 25-26 board goals? Okay, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Peter. Second. Thank you, Keisha. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Board policy updates? Get back up here. Are our guests having a good time? This looks familiar, right?
All right, so we do have a couple board policy updates. This is the second reading of those updates. The first one is the revenues from investments, use of surplus funds. And this came from the Missouri State Treasurer, asking school districts or stating that school districts need to adopt a model similar to the Missouri State Treasurer or develop their own. We are good with this policy as written. The Missouri State Treasurer's commitment is to safety, liquidity, and yield. Those are the same principles that we use for all of our investments. Right now, we've appreciated a fantastic rate with our sweep account, which essentially takes all of our funds, diversifies them overnight through an ICS process where everything is insured above $250,000. It all comes back, and we're able to use our funds in real time. So if we do experience a point where a fixed rate is better, we would go that route. But I will tell you our current arrangement with Central Bank is basis points above and beyond the FDIC. So it's really hard for other entities to compete in that regard. So we would ask the board to approve this as written.
We can do them all. We'll do them all at once at the end.
Okay. The next one is DJFA, Federal Programs and Projects. And what this does is periodically we are sent guidance as to how we go about spending federal dollars. So it outlines the procurement process, outlines, ethics and conflicts of interest. What this policy did add, and Dr. Helm will talk about this too from HR, is the whistleblower clause, which provides safety for any employee that recognizes any federal fraud or any use or abuse of federal funds outside that's allowable by the grant or the entity providing those funds to us. All right, thank you.
And Dr. Macy presented mine. Basically, mine is the protected staff communications. So basically, like he said, the whistleblower policy is just applied to federal programs as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I have policy IGBCA, Programs for Homeless Students. It is a revision based primarily on the recent rule changes issued by Department of Agriculture. It's based upon DESE's guidance. It is a shortened version for the dispute resolution process that also includes a form that will help ensure compliance and guidance for the homeless liaison should there be a dispute. It really doesn't change anything that we currently do in our practice. So I say recommend approving as written.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. TJ. All right, is there a motion to approve the policies as presented? Thank you, Keisha.
Second.
Thank you, Pablo. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Dr. Macy, it's your show.
All right, District Architectural Services. We have been discussing now for several years and really dating back to 2008, the Administrative Center and developing a facility that is large enough to house all of the district administrators, as well as versatile enough to provide a safe and secure boardroom, an opportunity for us to have some dedicated board meeting space. That space, again, that we talked about could be utilized for teacher learning during the day, creating a space that could be sectioned off and utilized. An appropriate admin center would provide us the opportunity to host regional meetings as well. When we all look at Ladue, I think we understand that we are a leader in public education, and it would provide us an opportunity to not only showcase our staff and our students, but provide us an opportunity to expand that professional learning. Our current structure at 10,000 square feet, we have several systems that have been mediated over the years, but they're reaching the end of life. Several building additions where the HVAC wasn't tied in, so we're running individual units, which is very inefficient. And this day and age, as reliant as we are on technology, housing the district network and server at our office right now is probably less than ideal. Currently, when the network goes down, we bring in a backup generator. We park it right outside, and we run the extension cord through the window so that we can power the system up. I'm just being honest. So
And there were
it's-
we had some fun visitors the other day in the form of ants.
So it sounds like we
another
need a
talking
new
point.
extension cord. Is that the
Maintenance.
request?
So it's, the evolution of technology, and when the internet goes down, if I know about it early, then, or Jim knows about it early, we're calling Patricia as soon as we find out, because we're so reliant on that network, and it's such a useful learning tool. So we've been on this journey now for quite some time. We spoke quite a bit several months ago about soliciting architectural services. We have completed a huge portion of that project. On May 1st, we issued the RFQ. May 20th, we received 10 qualified proposals. And then on May 29th, we interviewed 4 qualified firms. And when I say we had Keisha there, we had Peter there, we had Jennifer there, as well as several board advisory committee members from the community. So we definitely want to incorporate that community voice and make sure that we're working through this. So after interviewing those firms, all of those firms have done work with the district in the previous 10 years, but we had one firm that really rose to the top, which was Cordigan and Clark. So Cordigan and Clark did a huge portion of our Prop L work. So what we would ask the board to approve tonight is to authorize the administration to enter into negotiations. So at this point in time, if the board approves for us to enter into negotiations, what we would do is we would ask them to provide us their rates. We would ask for a sample contract, and we would have Lisa Burns with Tooth and Keeney begin reviewing that contract to make sure it includes all of the necessary insurances. Dr. Wibke and I had a meeting after the interview that went very well. Jim, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit.
No, I was just going to remind you that, and you're hitting that, because I think the board would want to know that, right? We had gone through the process of selecting them according to a matrix, but then there was another mini interview, if you will, because we do have a relationship. So with them from Prop L, we did have some questions, and I felt very comfortable with how they answered the questions. So, and I think I'm speaking for you, Jeff, but
Absolutely. And they're going to meet with the board. They're going to meet with various stakeholders and talk through delivery method. I know that was a big conversation through the interview process, and I think that there's always going to be factors that could change or lead us down a different road. But I think initially what their thought is going to be is based off of the size of the project and the fact that we're at one location, that we could go down the road of bid, design, bid, build. So that would not be a construction management project per se. What that would be is we would have general contractors, which would probably create a more competitive bidding environment. And that general contractor would then oversee all the subcontractors. So from a board perspective, pay applications would be similar to Prop L, but we would work directly with Cordigan and Clark, who would be working directly with the general contractor. Now, I say that because after they meet with everybody involved, yourselves included, that could change. The location, if we, take a location that wasn't one that we previously thought about, that's going to create a longer schedule or lead time, something along those lines. But I do think that was a topic that Jim and I went through, was we want to make sure that we have an efficient and effective delivery method. So we want to make sure that we're controlling costs wherever we can, but creating a quality quality structure.
We really push the issue also of safety, because it's right by the middle school, or at least projected to be there. So we really asked a lot of questions around safety, which meant traffic flow, and you guys all know how that.
So I'd offer, as we've talked through this, I've asked this the last couple of years. I think you've presented the why we're looking at this, the why it's necessary. And there's a period when it sounded like a want, but the need is clearly there. And I don't want to speak for Director Snidman, but I know in conversations we've always said we have to make sure that people are taken care of. And we've made sure that students are taken care of, classroom teachers are taken care of, administrators are taken care of in those spaces. We're looking at offering a 21st century space for more learning for adults as well. And so there is a safety factor. There is I think you were kind in your words, and Mr. Noonan has been exceedingly kind about the systems and the ability for his department to maintain those well past their natural lives. And so we're going to have to spend incredibly significant amounts of money to try to maintain old systems. So we're very much at a point of needing to create a space that is dedicated to work that occurs administratively, I think also for teachers' growth, as well as your acknowledgement that it could be used as a regional tool, et cetera. But it really is become much more of a need. And what we don't want to do is start misspending money to maintain a relatively dead building, for lack of a better word. So I appreciate the diligence in sharing why it's needed. Thank you.
Well, Pablo, I want to thank you because you've asked that question, and you've pushed us to really make sure we're communicating properly around the need. And Jeff mentioned it, but I'm just going to reiterate, there's several layers of efficiency here, right? And you're mentioning the building, we're mentioning, the HVAC systems, we're mentioning that there's parts of the building that are crumbling. We're laughing because otherwise we'd be crying about everything that gets in from outside into the building right now. And there's that efficiency. But we've also talked about, there's only so many hours in the day, and to be able to streamline and have Layla's group under the same roof, the efficiency in terms of getting our kids the best possible education under the time restraints that you have during a week is going to be there as well. So there's a lot of different layers of efficiency. But then the part that I will say, and this board has been wonderful, is we've always put students first, and you've recognized that, and we're going to continue to do that. And I would just bring you back to Jeff's presentation. Look at all the things that we're working on to keep our students, not only safe but first. And then you listen to Keisha's comments about, and Pablo's comments about the parking lot at Conway. You guys have always done that. What can we make it even better for our kids? Jennifer mentioned lights at the 5th grade center, and we really appreciate that. And that's why I believe we're such a good team. But, we put in the weekend update, just if you're wondering, based upon some comments that Pablo asked us, our top 10 reasons basically why this admin center is so needed. But I would say all those layers of efficiency are at the top of the list.
And number 11, ants. During pre-planning, when Dr. Wallace told us about the ants, we added it to the talking points.
Talking points.
Yep. So, any other questions about the architectural services? Okay. Is there a motion to authorize the administration to enter into negotiations with Cording and Clark and Associates to begin drafting a contract to be presented at the August board meeting? Thank you, Keisha.
Second?
Oh, I'm going to give it to Amy.
Oh, sorry. Oh, no, Amy, you take it.
It was the first time I heard
Yes,
so.
go Amy.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. And on to Reed and Conway boilers.
All right, we talked a little bit about the Reed and Conway boilers in the preliminary budget. Another one of those scenarios that we want to make sure that we're taking care of the students and addressing the needs of the building. I can't say it enough that this will complete the Prop L promise. Entering into all of that work on the heels of COVID, and to be able to say that this completes everything, I think is a true testament to the board and just remarkable. So we would ask the board to approve this work, and we will literally ask them to start ordering the equipment this evening. Yes, sir.
How long is the life of these boilers, roughly?
Well, I think, we try to push them 25 years. And it's a great question. Some of this equipment is becoming like technology, though. where it's advancing so rapidly that certain components become obsolete. I wouldn't say that that's the case here. I mean, we're going to be able to make them work for 25 years. But yeah, I mean, this is a long-term investment.
Any other questions about the boilers? Is there a motion to approve the recommendation for the purchase and installation of 2 new boilers for Conway and Reed for the total amount of $1.246 million? Thank you, Keisha.
Second.
Thank you, Pablo. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. And anti-intruder interior door locks.
All right, last but not least, the anti-intruder door locks. Another area where this board has made significant progress is in safety and security. This provides us to add another layer to that safety and security. And one of the big things that we hear about is the ability to lock the doors under duress. So this provides an opportunity for teachers to hit that big button. It is retrofitted to fit our existing hardware, so it's not a complete hardware replacement. It fits right above the existing locks, and this will provide that universal locking mechanism for all our classrooms, with the idea that we can continue to evaluate administrative spaces or any additional spaces after this round of installation.
I have a question. I should have asked this before. This does not in any way connect in with Centegix. This is just purely a manual. So if Centegix goes off, walks to the door, pushes the button.
Correct. This
Okay.
is not an electronic locking
It's
mechanism.
not? Okay.
Yeah, this is, in an ideal scenario, teachers teach behind a locked door.
Right.
That is not always the case, and there's environment, and you look at different things. This provides that safety component of if that teacher has that door open, they can quickly close it and lock it.
And can you tell from the outside that it is locked or that it's even there?
The only thing you can see from the other side is where the key goes. So the
Okay.
coil for the key on the other side. So the key will be keyed to the teacher's already handle lock, so that if somebody pushes it from the inside and the teacher needs to get back in, they'll be able to get back in.
And if/when a kid pushes the button, it doesn't set off an alert?
No, it's not. There's no alarm
Just-
attached.
okay.
It's just,
I should have asked these several when this was first presented, but there's the things I think about at night.
yeah, no, this really is an old school deadbolt.
Push button lock.
It's just a whole lot easier than trying to use your fingers in a terrible situation
Yep.
when you're under duress.
Absolutely.
So you didn't quite ask my question.
Oh.
I wanted to know, if students are in the classroom, no teacher in the classroom yet, they lock the door, how quickly can the teacher get into the room? They have to have the key.
Yeah, but right now, they have a key, because right now what we have in half of our classrooms is a small push button on the other side of the lock. So we already have that situation of if a student should lock a door, how does the teacher get back in? So we will definitely train staff and make sure that everybody understands that their keys need to be on their physical person.
Okay.
And I assume there is somebody in the building with a master key, just, thinking through if you run to the bathroom or to get a drink and you.
Yeah, so right now, the administrators have master keys, and if you want to walk in or evaluate a teacher, you don't want to disrupt them, the administrator can already
Okay.
key into the building.
Great. Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, currently, all the teachers have these poles which we're trained to stick in a doorknob and on the floor to bolt the door. And when I was teaching, I showed all my students how to use it in case I was incapacitated. Will this make those poles obsolete, or?
It will, and that's a great question. It'll make those poles obsolete, and the fire department they are against those poles. So they have asked us to not use those poles because it creates a fire hazard if they're trying to enter a classroom and there's an emergency. With the deadbolt, what they would have is every building has what they call a Knox box, where any first responder would have access to one of those master keys. So if there was a situation where there was an emergency, instead of trying to use an axe or a hammer to fight through that pole, they would simply have that master key and be able to access it, even if something happened overnight and there was an administrator here.
Any other questions? Okay. All those in, is there a motion to approve the anti-intruder door locks for the total amount of $412,110? Thank you, Keisha, for the first.
Second?
Thank you, Peter. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you so much. All right, we have come to the end of our agenda. You guys, 7:10. Proud of us. Is there a motion to adjourn? Thank you, Keisha.
Second.
Thank you, Pablo. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank
you to
you.
all of our guests for coming.